Hi there! Now that I have painted the inside of the packing compartments, we can proceed with the next step, and that is to put these bulkheads in place that should be positioned here. And also in the back end. To prepare for temporary moving the bulkhead when I put glue on it, I draw a line where it should be positioned. This will make it fast and easy to put back the bulkhead in place. I also put markings on the side and checked the distance so I didn't accidentally move the bulkheads in several positions. I also checked that all the clamps I plan on using will work. I want a tight fit that will minimize all gaps. Now I can prepare the glue. I measure up about 50 gram batches of epoxy base that I will mix with about 28 gram of hardener and about a tablespoon of cotton fibers. This will give me a semi-solid glue that will cure into a very hard and tough joint. Now I can remove the dry fittings and start smearing the glue on the connecting sides. As the end wood sucks up some epoxy, I add a surplus. The laminated side only need a monolayer. This side will also connect to the bulkhead, so I smear glue on the edge before I press the bulkhead in place, paying special attention to the position so that I follow the previous markings. Finalizing with some clamps to secure the bulkhead sideways, and then moving on to the next bulkhead. I check that the distance is still 17.5 centimeters. Now I can move on to the bulkheads around the back end tower and repeat the smearing. I put the bulkhead in place and tighten the gaps with clamps. A small angle error will have a large effect. Thus I check that all the bulkheads line up. After a couple of hours I add thickened epoxy around the joint to make up a fillet and fill any remaining gaps. To round the fillet I use a rounded rubber sponge and flat out with a gentle stroke with the brush. Before the epoxy is fully cured, I cut strips of glass to secure the bulkheads in place. I need more epoxy for this, and I mix a new batch. I thicken this with cotton fibers as well. I mix in well until I get the consistency I'm happy with. To take the rounding I use short strips of glass that I stick to the sticky epoxy surface. I continue adding strips along the bulkheads. This will make the bonding very strong between the bulkhead and the hull, but also make the bulkhead watertight, as well as very resistant to wear and tear. I wet out the glass with somewhat thickened epoxy. The day after I can remove the clamps and move outside into the winter for some dusty sanding where I round the edge and level out the glass edge around the bulkhead. I want a smooth edge that I can glass over, a profile that glass can bend around. While I'm already outside I can do some other sanding as well and improve the surface for later. Well, inside again I start working on the devising bulkhead. This also needs to be watertight, thus needs to be covered by epoxy and glass. While I wait for the side to cure, I laminate the rounded edges. When the one side laminate has cured, I can proceed on the other side and repeat the process. To install the devising bulkhead, I think it's easier to work from above. I find the correct place for the bulkhead and secure it temporarily until I'm ready with the epoxy. And can start securing this bulkhead with short strips of glass that I lay down with a short overlap on both sides of the bulkhead. This will be all for this episode. In the next episode I will start working on the centerboard case. I hope to see you back here then.